Early Thursday morning, a Russian force with no fewer than 25 vehicles and potentially hundreds of troops attacked positions manned by the Ukrainian Army's 24th Mechanized Brigade around Pokrovsk, a fortress city in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk Oblast. On paper, it was a powerful force including BMD fighting vehicles. And in theory, the Russian commander launched his attack at the right time under the cover of the early morning darkness. But a year after beginning the long march toward Pokrovsk from the ruins of Avdiivka, 25 miles to the east, the Russians no longer have the initiative on this axis. They've lost thousands of troops and hundreds of vehicles they're struggling to replace. Ukrainian road cutter drones harry the main supply lines to the Russian field armies, the 2nd, 8th, and 41st Combined Arms Armies, among others around Pokrovsk. Worst for the Russians, the 24th Mechanized Brigade and adjacent units in and around Pokrovsk have fire control over the front line, despite suffering vexing shortages of infantry. The Russians who attacked on Thursday morning were spotted by a drone with an infrared camera and then met with warmth, the 24th Mechanized Brigade reported. Infantry, artillery, and drone crews did everything to make the invaders' journey unforgettable. As the sun rose and the smoke and dust cleared, 14 of the attacking BMDs and other vehicles were destroyed or immobilized. The rest retreated, 5 of them damaged. At least 33 Russians died, according to the 24th Mechanized Brigade. Ukraine's first-person view drones, which Ukrainian workshops produce at a rate of more than 2 million a year, have proved decisive. Russia also produces millions of drones, but they're of lower quality, and all but the best fiber optic models are highly susceptible to Ukrainian jamming. According to the Ukrainian Center for Defense Strategies, Ukrainian drones are now responsible for 85% of the destruction inflicted on Russian forces, up from 50% last summer. Repeatedly defeating Russian attacks on Pokrovsk, the Ukrainians haven't just blunted the 2nd, 8th, and 41st Combined Arms Armies' momentum, they've reversed it in some areas. Russian assaults are down from up to 60 per day to as few as 18, CDS concluded. And in recent days, Ukrainian forces advanced on the eastern outskirts of Shevchenkova, just south of Pokrovsk. The advance comes at a critical moment in the geopolitics around Russia's wider war on Ukraine. In a disastrous press conference in the White House on Friday, U.S. President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance berated Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for purportedly being insufficiently grateful for past U.S. aid that, it's worth noting, was pledged under the previous administration, and which Vance, then a U.S. Senator, opposed. In the days following the press conference, Trump's administration halted further U.S. aid to Ukraine and also ended intelligence sharing between Washington and Kiev. Trump insisted Zelensky and Ukraine are not in a very good position. But that's objectively untrue along much of the 800-mile front line in Ukraine and western Russia. The Russians have recently made some gains in western Russia's Kursk Oblast. But in eastern Ukraine, and especially around Pokrovsk, it's the Ukrainians who are gaining. Ukrainian drone operators have demonstrated effective tactics against Russian assault troops near Ulakli in eastern Ukraine south of Pokrovsk, tracking motorcycle units to their hideout before coordinating devastating artillery strikes and drone attacks, Forbes reports. According to Forbes, operators from the Ukrainian Unmanned Systems Forces 413th Separate Battalion spotted movement in a tree line outside Ulakli. The movement turned out to be Russian troops and motorcyclists speeding along a dirt road, the combat footage showed. After losing over 15,000 armored vehicles in Ukraine, Russian forces are increasingly deploying troops on motorcycles. These motorcycle units often spearhead assaults, securing positions for advancing forces, including tanks and other armored vehicles. Recognizing the vulnerability of these advanced units, the 413th Separate Battalion moved quickly to eliminate the growing Russian position outside Ulakli. After pinpointing the Russians' dugout, the battalion deployed explosive first-person view FPV drones that blasted uncamouflaged motorcycles, while artillery units bombarded exposed troops. Forbes notes that the successful operation reflects broader patterns in the conflict. While Russians continue advancing west of Ulakli after their 39th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade captured the town in mid-February, elsewhere their gains are slowing significantly. Around the fortress city of Pokrovsk, the focal point of Russia's months-long assaults, Russian attacks have decreased by 80% compared to their peak in mid-January, according to Ukrainian analysis group Deep State. Recently, Ukrainian brigades in the city have begun pushing back against Russian forces.
Выстрел! 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 Огонь!